Alright, so for my leadership interview, I chose to do it on on a former employer of mine. His name's Anthony Bartek. Anthony is a franchise owner for Zaxby's. He currently owns two of them. Just recently opened up his second store, and I worked with him for roughly like 2 years, give or take, and I've enjoyed almost every moment hanging out with him and stuff. And I've learned a lot from him based on like how he like shows leadership throughout his whole organization. Um, During the interview, I asked him how he sees leadership and how he uses that to build up his franchise and organization from within. And he told me that he sees leadership as something that he uses to both help others and also improve himself. And I asked him like if he could specify about that. And he said when it comes to life and business, you're not always going to know exactly what to do 100%. You're always going to need to like get somebody's help, give or take. And I really like whenever he told me about that, it made a lot more sense to me because when I used to work for him, he would hold these meetings to see like what all we could do to like improve like our working conditions at the store. If there were like anything customers were like talking about specifically, he would always ask us about that kind of stuff. And I thought that was actually like really nice. He wanted to take our opinions and the opinions of customers and trying to build up his organization and improve his business. He also told me he tries to promote more within his employees rather than hiring outside people just become straight like managers or anything like that, because with hiring lower employees, he says it helps build loyalty and trust throughout everybody else, and it makes it easier on other employees whenever they have to shift from going to somebody that's totally new and different to having to actually know somebody and being able to just adjust their work styles to that, which makes it really cool. Some key characteristics I saw from him when I was talking to him during his interview, a lot of the stuff he was talking about was about trust, helping others for sure. Let's see. He was a big advocate for loyalty, and for me that was actually kind of inspiring because I'm a very loyal person. If I do something, I have a very good reason for it, and I aspire for that. He also talked about how you need to be confident in your work. One thing he always stressed whenever he was working with his employees was that he always wanted to make sure they actually understood like what they were doing, why they were doing it, why is this important, and whether or not they feel comfortable doing it themselves. Because if they didn't feel like it, he told him like it's not a big deal. There's always something else that other people could do, which I thought was like that's like when I'm working with him, it's like that made a lot of sense to me because when I first started, I worked in the back of house, like I cooked food and stuff like that. But after a couple months, I've moved my way up to front of house, and I actually like interacted with customers, took orders, and worked drive-through and stuff like that. And realizing that like I'm a little bit better up front in front of house than back of house. One of the biggest things that he's always talking about was you just have to find your confidence for it, and I thought it was really awe-inspiring. Which brings me to that next characteristic about him. He says he wants inspiration to flow from his management team and from him as well. He told me that he actually gets most of his inspiration from his wife, she is a public relations consultant for a number of like big business firms where they live. They live in St. Augustine, and she's like a very big public relations consultant there. And he said that he gets most of his inspiration from her because she also helps out like with his franchise adventure and stuff like that. And whenever he was telling me about how she helps with marketing, and he said he was inspired by that because not only does she show the passion for it, also needs to reflect how he shows his passion for something that takes such a big portion of his life, and he wants to make it the best he can, and he also wants to show that like inspiration and passion to go from he wants that to go for, like, from his management team and to his employees as well. So I thought that was actually like a really good characteristic that we talked about during her interview. My perception of him as an individual, or my perception of him as a leader after the interview, if anything, I learned a lot more about him. When I originally started talking to him, it was friendly and we kept it pretty civil. It was like a 30-minute interview, it wasn't too long, and we talked. I came more to him as a friend rather than a former employer, because he always helped me out whenever I needed him. But like after hearing about his story and talking to him during the interview, I think of him as more of like a he's a very big servant leader. I think his heart is very big and he aims to please everybody, and I aspire to be like him one day possibly, and I am inspired by him too, because I believe the impact he has done, not only with just like working as Zaxby's, as a franchise owner, but also the impact he has made on his employees' lives was tremendous and powerful. Take it from me, I used to work for him, and his impact was truly grateful. I don't think I could live without that impact from him. I guess a really key takeaway I got from him was whenever I was talking to him, and he was talking about like how you kind of need to take like life by the horns, but also you need to like weigh your decisions as a leader, because being a leader, it's a lot of power, and it's a lot of responsibility. And he told me like you're not always going to have all the answers, right? And it's a continuing process. He told me like he's 57 years old and he's been working for Zaxby's for over 10 years now. And beforehand, he was a horse ranch owner. And he told me how like no matter like what you do, but all you can do is all you can do is really try your best. If you can't make it work, get help. And that's what he told me, and I thought that was actually a pretty good takeaway from him, because being a servant leader, I see him as a servant leader, and with him trying and aiming to please everybody, it makes a lot of sense, and it really impacts you when you hear him say like, if you really need help, you need to get it. And that's what he does for everybody else, and that's, I guess, how he sees his relationship with Zaxby's and how he affects his employees, and I guess that's what really makes him a good leader in my eyes.